Hello and welcome to Buying and Beyond, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of retail buying. We're Kate and Linz, and together we have over 30 years experience in retail.
We'll be talking all things retail buying and beyond, so grab your drink of choice and come and have a giggle with us.
Hi!
Hi!
So, today we have our first guest on the podcast.
So exciting!
So, Emma has multi-category experience, most recently in beauty and lifestyle, and has worked on own brand and branded buying, as well as licensing. So, she's got a lot of knowledge. Hi, Em.
Hi, guys.
Hi!
Thank you for joining us today. We are so excited to have you here.
Oh, thanks so much, guys. Really happy to be here.
You're our first guest. You should feel very
no
privileged.
pressure.
No pressure, but you should feel very
But
privileged.
huge privilege.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. I hope I don't disappoint. I'm not the last guest.
Let's see how we get on.
So I've given a really short intro about you, but we would love to hear it from you. So how did you get into buying? Like, what attracted you to the role of buying?
So I think when you're a kid and you're thinking about what you want to do when you grow up, no one's really heard of buyers or merchandisers, really. But fashion designers, everyone's heard of. And that's ultimately what I thought I wanted to be. I'd sketch out in my little notebook all the clothes that I wanted to have in the shops. And it was when I think I was but just before I started uni, I was having a chat with a girl who used to babysit me, and she was a merchandiser, and she was like a few years older, and she'd worked at all these like amazing brands in London and was having a great time. And I remember talking to her about what she actually did, because I'd never heard of this role of a merchandiser. And the way she explained it was, you know, you've got your buyers who really choose the product, and then the merchandisers are the ones who tell you what colour you're going to buy it in based on what the sales are doing. And I thought, oh wow, I'd really love to work in a retail head office. And it was through having that conversation where I realised like buying was definitely something I was really interested in. Mm-hmm. But I actually started in merchandising. So I was
You're on the dark side.
I know, I was on the dark side and I made the leap. But I was an MA at the start, and
Boo, I'm joking.
I've been here longer. But yeah, I started there working like in the non-food section of a supermarket, and I just was always really jealous of what the BAs were doing. Mm-hmm. They always with the product and, you know, getting samples about and running here. And I was there sort of deciding which stores things were going to. And
you were stuck in a spreadsheet.
I was stuck in a spreadsheet. And
you want to be stuck in a cupboard.
Yes. With all the samples.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I sort of internally moved to a BA role there, which also wasn't very exciting. If I'm completely honest, I moved to technology, which was basically laptops.
Oh my gosh,
and
really?
like headphones.
So you're like,
and
finally,
things.
I'm making it into buying.
Oh,
I'm buying
with laptops. Yeah, so it wasn't the dream, but then I moved to London to follow the dream. Mm-hmm. So I went to work for Disney stores in London.
That sounds like a magical job.
It was.
I could just like the Disney songs at the back of my head.
Didn't they used to play it in the lift?
They did.
Did you have a whole new world in the lift every day?
Yes,
oh my
every
God,
single
imagine
day.
starting your day with a whole
Yeah,
new
but
world.
after a few years, guys, you're a bit like
There's
you're so fed
definitely
up
not a
with
whole
it.
new world here.
There's no whole new world.
At first you're like, oh my God, this is the dream, and it motivates you every day. Whole new world. And you're just like, it's not a new world, it's the same old shit.
And it's Monday trade.
Yes.
Same
Exactly.
shit, different day.
You're
not
arguing
new
about
world.
different types of glitter. Are we going to do the fairy dust or
Oh,
the disco
wow.
dot or the diamond dust?
Who knew there were so many different types of glitter?
Exactly. But
Do you
we
just
have
walk
whole
out your
glitter
office every
meetings.
day covered in glitter?
Pretty much, yeah, most times. But it was a great stepping stone. I think that's where I did own buy development, and that was probably where you meet your first like your first job crew, like in terms of like that
that's
real
a nice
social
way to put it, isn't it?
yeah,
Job
like that
crew.
real social side of like you're all in it together, like you said, like you're all in the trenches together and muddling through and running around for samples for this meeting or for like the VM team or whatever it is. And it was a really great place to start because there was so many different departments. You know, I started on costumes where you're literally, you know, cutting out the bell dress and you're like, let's add a bustle, and you're cutting bits of fabric while there's a little girl there modelling this little dress and you're literally like cutting around her, and it was really exciting. Like it was
so
really
exciting.
great to work with all these like amazing like fabrics.
And you can be so creative as well, because it's like it's a little one's dream, isn't it? I mean, and an adult dream too. But you know, you can really let your imagination go wild, can't you?
You can. I think as a kid, like I grew up loving Disney, so for me, I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing, and you know, it was really exciting. And then moved on to like stationery and sort of did bits there, and then got promoted onto like the kids accessories department where it was like more fashion led, as fashion led as you can be with the Disney store, but you know, you could you had a bit more creative interpretation on like the bags and accessories side of things and the footwear and whatever. And yeah, so I think that was kind of sort of my course, and then sort of moved on to working for an online retailer, doing sort of beauty, lifestyle and gifting.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm loving the Disney stories. I think loads of people would want to hear loads more about that.
There's always loads of stories from the sample cupboard.
For sure.
And how do you feel like working in merchandising and then translated over to buying? Like, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's a bit like, ooh, boo. But
I'm totally joking, everybody. Love all my merchandise.
There's like a love triangle, isn't there, between kind of like we've talked about it, your design, your merchandisers and your buyers. And you've all got like really sort of like slight different skill sets.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about, particularly with them becoming a branded buyer, which I think you did in your most recent job, quite a bit of branded buying.
Yeah.
It's a lot more numbers skilled.
Yeah, I think so. I think it gave a really good base to have a really good understanding of what the numbers mean, and like putting that with a sort of the creative side of buying. I think it gave me a really well-rounded viewpoint, I think, because I kind of understood both sides of the coin, what everyone was trying to do, because I didn't get to merchandiser, I was an MA, but because you're doing all the trade reports and everything, you're kind of in the numbers a
You're
lot
already
more.
quite a fay with numbers by the time you get to kind of, by the time you were being a BA, whereas very much at BA, you are just very much samples post.
Yeah.
It's not until really AB that you get exposed to the numbers. So you kind of, I guess, had a bit of a sort of step
I think
up
you
on
just
that.
had a bit more I think I had more confidence because of that, because I kind of understood that viewpoint a bit more. And I think I've always kind of been, I think there's some buyers who are super creative and just don't want to know. Like, it's just like, tell me what the sales are and I'm not going to look at it. Whereas I think I've definitely had more of a balanced view where I'm generally very interested in how things are performing. And when I've worked in roles where I haven't seen the sales, like I took a bit of a side move into sort of licensing with sort of a supplier, and there I didn't see like what the weekly sales were, and I found that really odd. Like I found it really hard because I was like, I wanted to know what things were doing,
and you're like, I guess in that role you were more idea generating, like coming up with concepts and things. But when you've been used to working and buying, which is a balance of both, you're used to coming up with creative concepts based on the data, rather than just based on like, oh,
exactly, based out of this idea of thin air, this could be a good idea.
Yeah.
And that's harder in a way because you don't see the results of your labour in the same way that you get a real like buzz, I think, in buying. Like when you see the weekly sales come through and you're like, yes, that was like, you know, that's your idea and it's done really well and it's a bestseller, and you know, it's a really great feeling. Like you get that real like endorphin hit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you get such a buzz from it. What would you say your favourite thing about buying is?
Oh, I think it is that I do love like the product development, and I do love actually building a strategy. Like I've always loved like that bigger picture thing of, okay, what are we going to do for the season? I'm really looking at like your successes and your failures from the previous season and kind of looking at that analysis to be like, okay, well, that was a real dog that season. But this was amazing. And how can we like grow that? What are we going to move this on to? And really looking at the strategic picture from that side of things. And I do like the trading as much as like you have like the Sunday fear of like you've got trade in the morning and it's just like you can never enjoy a Sunday ever again.
Never.
But it is like if something's doing well, it is a really like a nice feeling of like, oh yeah, like it's kind of that validation you get that thousands of people have bought your product that week. It's kind of a real.
I totally get the Sunday dread thing. I remember a few years ago my head of merchandising emailing me going, the CEO's on holiday on Monday, have a lovely glass of wine on Sunday night.
Oh, yes. You can relax a little bit when they're not going to be there in trade meetings.
Exactly.
But it's the Sunday fear, but it's a mix of like fear and adrenaline because you're not quite sure how it's going to go. And like you say, you might have some like amazing results of like sales are massively up.
Yeah.
And like you could leave on a Friday and sales being like, you've seen Thursday sales on Friday and you're thinking, do you know what, my week so far has been quite good. I've got 4 days of trading, but you've got the weekend still to go.
Yeah.
So you can leave feeling fairly confident that it's been a good week, but it could absolutely plummet that weekend.
The weather's bad.
Don't mention the weather. But, it could go any which way, and then you turn up and you're thinking it's going to be a good Monday, and then you're like, oh no, all the opposite. You've had a real shocker of a beginning of the week, and then you go in and it's like somehow like the gods have appeared and like everybody decided to go shopping this weekend and buy your product.
Yeah,
exactly. I think, and that's the thing, I think where my most recent role was for an online retailer, and for them, the weekend sales are never as strong because everyone's done their shopping earlier in the week to get their delivery through for the weekend. And so you see those results a little bit earlier in the week and you're like, oh God, is anything going to save us or, or are we doing okay? And we're going to smash it and next week's going to be great.
Good and we're feeling in a good place. And you often with like an online retailer, you can have much more recent data, can't you? It's much more like current. So you can be tracking it by, not to get too obsessive, but in one company we did, and it was almost like you'd see the hourly sales coming through, and if the hour sales weren't quite where you expected them to be, then it was like, okay, well, action stations, what are we going to do? What can we do to change?
Didn't they have that on that
Yeah.
Misguided documentary? Didn't they have the TV with the sales when they launched? They did a product launch.
They did a new launch.
And then it would be like sold out of the jersey black dress.
Yeah, boom, boom. It's like
Bell ring the bell.
Selling sunset stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that must be quite like nice to see though, from an online point of view.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have access to so much data because, an online company is built on tech. And so they're looking at all the different metrics.
Yeah,
so there is so much data that you can pull and you can really sort of understand and learn about your customer and what they're sort of buying into and, learn about, actually what demographic they are in the way that you can't with a store unless you've got someone literally on the store being like, okay, they're this age, roughly they fill this age bracket.
Yeah.
Following them around the shop. What was their customer journey?
Exactly.
Well, first they walked over to
and got a
jewelry.
coffee. Yeah.
Then they wandered over to the book area and then they went over to look at some wellies. Whereas like online
and bought a orchid.
Yeah. Whereas online you can kind of see that that was their journey. First they clicked here and they went to jewellery, then they clicked here and they went to books. But you wouldn't have someone following round the shop.
Wow.
But it's an interesting one. Online isn't just an entire topic in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you can go to all sorts about, because we talk about, how nice it is to kind of, as buyers, we love touching and feeling product, and obviously online it's much harder to get that. It's going to be really interesting to see how technology advancements change that as well, with things like a lot more AI and things like that. Like already you can see technology advancements just on like beauty with like skincare foundation matching.
Foundation. You can like try on lipsticks or hair dye
and like getting the right size with the fit
like Fit Assist. And
Fit Assist and all that kind of stuff.
things
That's
like
really
that. So
interesting.
it's really, there's so much technology coming through.
Do you think that there's
space.
been a danger of having too much data though sometimes?
Yes,
Because
I think
that
you
then
get wrapped
really
up in
stop.
it.
Yeah, you get wrapped up in it, and sometimes your decisions aren't like your gut decisions.
They're not your
more
gut decisions. They're the data's telling us this, but your heart might be saying, I'm really feeling this product, but it's
Let's
just
try
like
it.
the data doesn't back it up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like in the future with that AI, seeing as we mentioned AI, but AI will be able to forecast trends and things, and it could get to a point where certain roles within buying and merchandising, AI takes over a little bit.
But at the same time, I guess when you think about an algorithm, it's just feeding you the same information over and over again. So actually how much of it is creative, or how much can it really sort of come up with new concepts and new ideas? It's an interesting one, isn't it? Or is it just a self-fulfilling prophecy? It was really interesting at one of the online companies I worked for, where they saw themselves as a tech first company. They were a retailer, and particularly for like the buying team, we struggled with that. We're a retailer, and they were trying to run us very much like a tech business. So it's great, the product releases they did, all the advancements that they did, the sprints. They would just hamper down for 2 weeks and find a problem and fix it. And they had scrum masters. I mean, I don't think
What's a scrum master?
I know, right?
Well,
It's
this was
like rugby,
it sounds like it, doesn't it? It's like all these terminologies, like quite American, but they're sort of all about. It's much more kind of product management, and product being more from the IT sense, rather than a product being like your handbag. So your scrum master would be someone that's like kind of like your coach, your cheerleader. So there's somebody that making sure that you're sticking to your critical path, essentially, but your product release critical path.
Right.
So it was really interesting. It was very much run like that, and they were very, very data driven. So almost any range review you had, they wanted to see the data to back it up.
Yeah.
But as we're saying, sometimes it is just gut. And if you want to have a team of buyers and you have a team of good buyers, so much of it is on gut, what I've seen. You can't always rely on that data.
Yeah.
Because it's also like it gets stale. That's a bit like when you talk about just running your bestseller, consistently running your bestseller.
Yeah.
Well, actually, is the algorithm going to tell you, actually, no, it's coming to the end of its life cycle?
No, exactly.
No, it's not going to preempt it. You need to do that. You need a person to do that.
You need someone to have like the balls to actually be like, we need to move them on to this now.
Yes. And to take
Let's
that
be
like
fresh and relevant.
Yeah. And take that decision and drive it and be like, okay, this is going slightly against data.
Yeah.
But I've seen this, or I'm getting this feeling, or I've been talking to people. I think we need to change the direction slightly, and you just have to back it and not rely on data sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you can get so caught up in it, can't you? It's like, it's an amazing tool, but it's also something that can blind you.
Totally.
You just keep recycling and repeating the same things.
For sure.
But what about the differences between own brand and branded? We've touched on it before in previous episodes, but for somebody as well that's also worked in those two different areas.
2 worlds, yeah.
What's your fave?
Do you have a fave?
In all honesty, I think own brand.
Yay!
I think because I think you get that real pride of creating something with a designer and sort of going through all the process of picking the fabrics and the details and that kind of thing, and then seeing it through the full sampling process and then seeing the sales. Having said that, though, I do love branded as well, because I think you get a real sense of you can be really agile with how you trade your stock and building the right brand portfolio for like what your offer is about, whether that's through like your price architecture or what kind of customer you're targeting. And I think branded buying allows you to really test and learn, whereas when you've sort of done own buy, you've bought a certain amount, and it's going to, if something does well and you need to replan that stock, you've got that 16-20 week lead time where, depending where you bought it from, to see that stock again. Whereas when you're branded, you're one of probably a few customers, unless you've negotiated an exclusive, where they've probably got a bit of backup stock. So, you've got a first reaction. It's like, great, let's replan that. And you can really
react
and trade that stock really well. And likewise, when you've got something which hasn't performed as expected, there is generally a bit more flexibility with cancelling out of like a future order.
One of the other fun things about branded buying, I think, is when you discover so many like cool new brands.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a real opportunity, like, because there's obviously so many brands already in existence, and you've got all the big brands, but where you can really get ahead of the competition is really finding those emerging brands where you see a real opportunity.
How do you do that?
So I found quite a few of them like through social media, and then just approaching them, and quite often quite a few of them had never had any retail presence, and they were obviously really pleased to be working with the retailer who I was last with, because it gives them such a platform to talk to their target audience. And through that, you know, quite often I'd work with them on doing some exclusive products, because when they're such a small brand, it's just like, you know, it's kind of a partnership, isn't it? You know, we're helping them by giving them such a big platform, which
changes their lives.
It does. Like, I've had brands which, you know, I was the first one to stock them, and now they're like in Boots, Pretty Little Thing, you know, they're in so many of the major stores, and, you know,
that's job satisfaction, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
That's the satisfaction equivalent of seeing something you created and was a bestseller, is finding a brand and giving them that elevated platform to like just accelerate their career.
And I think that's when we go back to, you know, what do you really love about branded buying? That was definitely one thing, was really finding those really small, like more niche brands which hadn't yet been discovered, and giving them that platform, and then developing exclusive product with them, expanding their product offering. And now you see them everywhere, and you're like, wow, that's really cool. Like, good on them for sort of being able to take their brand to such a wide audience.
Like you gave them the stage, and then they just like, they kind of like ran with it. They took it and ran with it. And did you find that you used to get approached a lot from brands?
Yes. A lot.
And what did you do?
I would always generally try and reply. Like, I know it must be really frustrating when you don't get a response, but then I think my annoyance personally was if you'd said no once and then they'd sort of kept coming back, and it's like my mind hasn't been changed, or we don't stock your product category, and we're not looking to explore that.
And when you don't stock their category, it's like, do your research.
Absolutely.
Yes. Like, are you even a good brand fit?
Yes.
Yeah, that can be one of my biggest bugbears.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, but I definitely had some real shockers of people approaching you with like something which you just hadn't know. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I know what you mean.
But do you know what I mean? Something really random, and you're like, in what world did you think we would stock that?
I think I worked for, it was when I worked for a accessories retailer. So you're thinking jewellery, like fashion accessories, jewellery, bags and things. And I got sent in some like, you know, like insect hubs that you can put in your garden, insect houses.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's an accessory, but it's not something you would generally find in our store. And even if I was going to branch out into a new category, I'm not sure it would be insect houses.
I mean, wow. I just don't think I can.
I mean, they were being really optimistic. I mean, really sort of pulling at straws there.
Clutching, yeah. Absolutely.
So what are some of your favourite brands?
Some of my favourite brands. So,
we'll think store experiences.
So I always think Selfridges is such an amazing store to go into, because, you know, like the high street has sort of evolved so much over the last few years. And like when sort of we were a little bit younger, when Topshop was the pinnacle of the high street, like I loved going in the Oxford Street store. Same. I would lose hours in there, and I'd go in at like 10
as well, wasn't it? It was like a meeting point.
It was meet you at Topshop, like, and you know,
our childhood.
It just disappears.
It's like right there, you'd go in at 10 and you'd still be there at 3-4 o'clock.
Exactly. But it was great, wasn't it? Because it had just such a vibe. It had such a cool vibe.
Yeah.
And
on a Friday or a Saturday, and they'd have the DJ playing.
Yeah, exactly.
trying to choose my
Exactly.
outfit for a night out, imagining I'm there on the dance floor.
Yeah, I
It
just
takes-
love the accessories floor, like, and just
Yeah.
going
I loved
round
it.
and
I actually worked for a concession at the bottom for a bit.
did you?
Yeah, and that was really
That bit
fun.
was quite cool
yeah.
as well,
Yeah,
because
it
there
was
were
such a
actually
good, it was a
some,
great bit to work for because you worked for yourself. So you just basically ran your own little shop in Topshop, which was great. Loved
There are
it.
really fun
dream.
creative things down there as well, like, you know, things that you go a bit mainstream and then you might go down to see if there was something a little bit different, a
Yeah,
little bit quirky.
quirky.
Yeah.
And the changing rooms as well there, they were like vast, weren't
Yeah.
they? They were
Oh
huge.
god.
were.
But you could go in and have a full-on trying-in session.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. But I think, and it's a shame that that store isn't there anymore. But I think going into Selfridges, while it's a more like affluent shop and everything, it's got a real vibe there. Like, you know, you're on the beauty floor and there's all these beauty experiences where you can get your treatments done on the floor. They've got all the latest emerging brands there, and just going around the store, you just get a real. It's a similar buzz that I used to get from Topshop, where you're just seeing so much stuff that you love. I just wish I could afford more of it.
I was going to say aspirational.
Aspirational, it's not but it is nice to have a little wonder. It is nice to have a little wonder, and I always think, you know, beauty is like the floor where you can really explore, where maybe that's a bit more pocket friendly, where you can get yourself a couple of little new products to try, you know.
A new
Sure.
lippy or something that just transforms you, or like a little-
Exactly. It gives you a little bit of a buzz for the day, new nail
Yeah.
polish or whatever it is.
Awesome.
I love that. On that, talking about shops and store experiences, would you like the opportunity for some retail therapy?
Of course.
I know you got some stories in that.
Yeah, so I think we had one like Halloween party. This particular retailer used to do these big Halloween parties, and we'd all get dressed up in fancy dress and things. And I think we just got ahead of ourselves, and we thought, well, we'll just get ready now. And I think our team were going dressed out as Barbie.
You were
and
so relevant before your time.
Yeah. We were all dressed up as Barbie and we were getting changed in the toilets, and then I think we'd forgot that we actually had a sign off. We still had meetings to do.
Oh my
And
god, you
I
had a
remember, like,
sign off.
I know, the head of merch. She came like hunting the horse for us and then walked into the toilets, and we were all like half undressed in our Barbie costumes. She was like, you know, you've got sign off, you know.
So you did
We were
a sign off as a Barbie.
So yeah, basically.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh my god. I love that.
It's
Were you just like,
basically-
this is Barbie core, 2, 3, 4 years ahead?
20.
Not quite 20 years ahead, guys.
it's
Come
just-
on.
I said
stop
2, 3,
aging us
4.
all.
She said
I always chuck the
2,
big
not
numbers
me.
out there. I say them confidently because I'm a buyer.
Oh, that's great.
Remember,
That's
that's
great.
brilliant.
Love it. Love the stories.
So I think that probably brings us to the end. Although it feels like it's gone far too quickly,
It has.
It has.
hasn't it?
I've really enjoyed having a guest on.
Me too. Thank you so much for joining us,
Aw,
Em.
thank you
It's
so
been
much for
really, really
having us.
fun to record. It's great to have like another opinion and some more
Yes.
stories to share, and some real like insights as well into kind of, you know, broader buying roles and different retailers. And I think it would be good to end with 3 top tips.
Okay, 3 top tips. So I would say number 1 is always take every opportunity to know that your skills are transferable. I would have never have thought that I would have gone from being a BA on laptops to being a buyer for beauty at a fashion retailer. But if you harness every opportunity that comes your way as a chance to learn something new, you can really follow the path to where you want to get to. The second thing I'd say is, you know, the reason that I and so many of us love buying is because we love product, and you can be creative in both own by and branded, whether that's through creating your own product or seeking out someone else's from a new exciting brand. And number 3 is harness the power that you have as a buyer, whether that's to make a change through elevating a small brand, giving them a platform to grow their business, assuming it's relevant for your customer, of course, but also through driving sustainability through your product area, because you have such a wide-reaching impact that you have a real chance to make a change, a positive change.
I love that. Thank
That's
you.
brilliant.
Yeah, thank you again, Em. Like, as you said, this has been so much fun to do. We've been so excited to have you on. Some really great insights, and love to, see how skills can be transferable across the retail landscape. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. So in next week's episode, we'll be talking all about these skills and how do you drive your personal development. We'll see you then. Bye.
See ya. If you've enjoyed listening to this episode, please, please, please like and subscribe and leave a review.
And if you already have, thank you, thank you, thank you. We all need a bit of retail therapy, and this is the perfect time for you to offload about that super cringeworthy story. We would love to hear from you all, your funny stories and experiences, or even any dilemmas, and maybe we can help, or at least find someone who can. And don't worry, we will keep these anonymous and remove any names and brands.
We would also love to hear from you on any topics you would like us to talk about. Please send all of these into buyingandbeyond@gmail.com or drop us a DM via our Instagram page @buyingandbeyond. Kate, are you a drama queen?
No,
Drama just makes things interesting.
that's true.
All these thoughts and opinions are our own and based on our own experiences working for a wide variety of retailers. These are all in the hope to entertain and educate, and not to reflect negatively on any place we currently or have previously worked.